Greetings and oh boy, about that more than likely upcoming, perhaps at some point to be announced Fallout 3 demake. Perhaps, we need a bit of a historical refresh, since Bethesda fanboys seem to have short-term memory and extreme memory loss. So, if you did indeed play Fallout 3 at some point, where your brain had grown past the spinal column and you put away the nostalgia rose-tinted glasses, you would know that Fallout 3 was never a good game to begin with. Not even compared to Bethesda at that time. Not even Bethesda games themselves. Not even if New Vegas would have never existed. And sure as hell, not in comparison to the older Fallout titles. But since memory holing and gaslighting is very prominent in this community, and currently the copium is very high due to the Fallout show being in its second season, I think it's high time for a bit of a refresher. Fallout 3 was never good. Let's do the rundown. The main quest is completely railroaded like hell and plagued with horrendous writing, characters, nonsensical choices, and overall lack of player agency in a supposed open world RPG. Fallout 3 leaned heavily into what the community now calls goofy Fallout, a very detestable, funny version of all the jokey secret insider memes that reared their ugly head partially during Fallout 2, only amplified by 10 times the cringe and incompetent writing. Let me preface this by saying some goofs and gaffes are okay. I am not averse to humor and comedy, but if you label Fallout, legitimately Fallout as a franchise, as goofy post-apocalypse, then I think you missed what the original Fallout games were about. Initially, there needs to be a level of grit, darkness, and grim reality to these worlds, and it is severely lacking in Fallout 3 and all of the other following Bethesda titles, and it is replaced by this limp dick normie humor. Naturally, Fallout 3 was bugged to shit and had to be fixed by modders over the years. Modders that Bethesda famously never acknowledges or cares about. But that is par for the course for Bethesda these days. So the game being buggy is nothing too shocking, but I'm just getting started. Fallout 3 also gave us Mothership Zeta, if you forgot about this. Probably the single worst DLC in the franchise of all time. A total lore-destroying fever dream of turbo garbage. The entire Alien and Lovecraft inclusion into the overall title and all of the other Bethesda titles, by the way, really gets on my nerves, and it shows a disrespect for the original lore and universe, and is also a sign of laziness, since leveraging references from other authors or franchises, better authors and franchises in this case, really isn't A, that interesting, or B, that skillful for a writer to do. But besides the Lovecraft shit, the Alien inclusion is way worse. It is way worse. It was never supposed to be like a serious thing in the Fallout franchise, and Bethesda made it real. And now we got shit theories, or we had shit theories about the aliens actually causing the apocalypse. At least those theories are all but dead nowadays. Or at least I hope that these theories have finally died. But besides that, Mothership Zeta is just an abomination of a DLC in all aspects. Gameplay, lore, writing, artistics, style, creativity, aesthetics, everything. The combat in Fallout 3 is notoriously boring and one-sided and shallow. Kinda like Skyrim melee combat, only with guns. Wait. Nah, sorry. I take that back. I take that back. That is insulting to Skyrim. Fallout 3's combat is way less interesting than Skyrim ever could be. But let's be honest, without mods, Skyrim's combat really doesn't have that much to offer in terms of depth. But it's not as bad as Fallout 3, okay? Melee in Fallout 3 is basically nothing. It's just hacking and slashing at enemies. Weapons-based combat is a choice between laser, plasma, and bullets or explosives, all kind of really feeling not much different to each other. bonus points to the weapon degradation system, which leads to most of the first laser weapons you find to be horrendous, in horrendous condition, leading to a lot of players never leveling up that skill since they falsely expected laser weapons to be terribly, because the first weapons that they found were in horrible, terrible condition and weak early on. And so they never picked up laser weapons later on in the game. Also, the rocket launcher existing as a combat trivializing abomination is another point on the shit pile that is Fallout 3. But again, it's Bethesda 3D combat. There's nothing really new here. Well, unless you somehow remember Fallout 3 having amazing combat. I gotta ask though, when was the last time you have actually played that game? Like really played that game? Because I can't see that amazing combat system at all. If you are of a different opinion, then show me how Fallout 3 has somehow amazing combat. Most Bethesda games suffer from terribly generic combat system. Fallout 3 without mods is really no exception. Let's not forget about one of the most nonsensical NPCs in the game, the Nuka-Cola fangirl, whose entire existence is supposed to be a joke. In a supposed nuclear apocalypse, lore-wise, her existence is more than a little bit questionable. But again, it's supposed to be a funny joke, so it's all fine, guys. It's a meme character. Just ignore everything about this character. Ignore it. It's just a funny joke. The absolute nonsensical lore retcons in Fallout 3 are another gigantic stain that Bethesda left on the franchise's history. Too bad. Unfortunately, it's not gonna get better at any point in time. Actually, judging by the Fallout show, it's gonna get much worse. Why? Well, first of all, Emil Pagliarello was the lead writer for Fallout 3. And do you honestly think he's gonna hand over any potential rewrites in the remaster, which let's be honest is not happening, to someone else besides him? Emil being the head writer for this game, by the way, explains so much in hindsight. It's actually so obvious why Fallout 3's story turned out the way it did, and actually why all of the games that he was the lead writer for turned out to have absolutely atrociously shite storytelling. Due to the abysmal writing, there's a severe lack in meaningful choices or even sensible, realistic choices present in the game. You either get to be insane monster murder man or Goody Two-Shoes literal messiah Jesus of the wasteland. The only few interesting choices are off the beaten path, which by the way is the only real way to enjoy Fallout 3, by ignoring anything that is main quest related. And even then, I would argue we're still talking about a less than average experience. Also, on a totally unrelated note, why are there so many murder hobos that play these games and make videos about it? It's actually a little bit unsettling. I never felt the urge or the need to randomly massacre random NPCs in any of the Fallout titles or any of the Bethesda games. And I'm not even that bored, and even if Fallout 3 tries its hardest to make me bored, I still have some form of restraint. Most of the time in these games, you have to reload a save point anyway, since Bethesda doesn't let you kill essential NPCs. Generally, Fallout 3 and the other Bethesda Fallout games entirely feel like you are playing an off-brand Chinese MMO game that somehow has no longer any players online, so you're doing all of the boring side quests solo. Don't forget about the blood-drinking idiot wannabe vampires in this game. That for sure is some truly magnificent and well-written quest design right there. Those guys make a lot of sense. Then there is the weird and strange reinterpretation of the Brotherhood of Steel. You all knew that this was coming. They're always trying to turn him into some sort of Temu Astarte version. I don't even know what they did to the Brotherhood of Steel. It's a complete departure of what they used to be in the old games. For no other reason than what? Emil probably thought they were boring? Or maybe he was not capable of writing them as they were in their original version? Or maybe it was just change for the sake of change, you know, the good old modernization. The entire game is filled with weak villains, or whatever General Autumn, President Eden and that Chinese general are supposed to be. Not villains. I don't even know if you could really count them as obstacles, as two of them you can just convince to commit Sudoku with like 2 sentences, and the other just walks out of the room if you convince him not to fight. Something you do after literally massacring every one of his men, every single one of his men, and blowing up the entire Enclave headquarters. But now, once you talk to Mr. General Autumn, now is the time to stop the violence, I guess. The absolute stupid ending choices, we need to talk about those too. The The game offering you the ending, the one ending choice you had before a DLC had to fix the quote-unquote mistakes that Bethesda totally did not intend to make with the original ending. And even then, the ending is still garbage. It is still absolute horrendous shit. President Eden is an idiot wannabe stand-in for the Master with an even more idiotic plan to poison all the mutants. And he gets convinced to blow himself up in 3 seconds by the guy he literally just met. That, by the way, is stellar writing right there. That is Emil level writing right there. Also, you again, General Autumn's classic calling card line and likely the only thing anyone remembers him for. Skill and weapon variety is also basically non-existent due to the almost non-existent weapon variety and almost all weapons playing and behaving kind of the same way, especially like all of the melee weapons that you can have. Fist weapons, sword, whatever. It's just the same side of the coin. The entire game is just look at the cool VATS skills, look at those cool VATS explosions, look at the cool dismemberment in VATS, look at this, look at it. It's totally not there to mask the shitty action combat in our game. There's also virtually no meaningful build crafting in this game either. There are no traits like there were in Fallout 1 or 2 or New Vegas, for example, making the overall combat experience and even talking to NPCs with the speech skill even more shallow and boring. And then we have the Bethesda branded janky-ass karma system in the game. Stealing a single spoon off of a table makes you a branded traitor enemy number 1 hunted and shot on sight. Makes sense. The quote-unquote big and impactful karma decisions in this game are neither deep, meaningful, or ethically questionable or morally gray in any way, shape, or form. There's no thinking, no reflection, no character thought or narrative. Blow up a town for no reason for some asshat in a tower, or just don't do that. That's deep. Stunning and daring storytelling. Truly the minds will mull over this insane moral quandary for years to come. To blow or not to blow up Megaton? Question of the ages. Again, you can just convince General Jingwei to yeet himself into the afterlife on the spot at the end of the DLC in a sentence. That is really great NPC interactions and an extremely good charisma system you got going on there, Bethesda. Good job, really good job. Speeches is really good in this game. Let's not forget the extreme hand-holdy, long-ass, dragged-out, horrible tutorial that everyone patches out of their game immediately using the alternate start mod in pretty much every Bethesda game to date. Once your dad leaves the vault, the entire security staff wants you dead and shoots you on sight. Makes sense. Your very first NPC interaction at that point is combat, more combat, and let's see, combat. Not what's. At any point in time, can you talk to any of these guys who, mind you, are literally just vault security staff. They're not bloodthirsty raiders, but in this instance, they might as well be. This is endemic of how railroaded so many of the choices in this game are. There is no choice, period. You either shoot these guys or you die and you reload the save. There's no speech option. Literally no speech option. But all of a sudden, killing the overseer, the guy, the single guy responsible for all of this shit that is supposed to be a meaningful karma choice all of a sudden. Killing that guy is bad, but fuck all of the other security guards, I guess. And mind you, this is the very start of the game at the point where you are giving quote-unquote agency for the first time. And then the game obviously continues to act as though you have meaningful choices and player agency, but you don't. Or let's say the results are almost meaningless in many cases. There's virtually no real difficulty scaling in this game, as the game tries to count for you being able to go anywhere at any time. So most enemies have shitty trash equipment and just scale to your player level. That, and then some of the bullet sponge enemies if you turn the difficulty up. That is not any meaningful expression of skill, or rather it does not encourage meaningful skill expression other than mindless endurance and just throwing rockets at your problem or some other cheese tactic. There's almost no difficulty progression, and you never reach a place where you feel like you are overwhelmed, challenged, out of your depth, and maybe you ask yourself, should I supposed to be here yet? The few places that do indeed seem to be scaled specifically to be dangerous early on don't actually reward you with anything worthwhile. Nothing that's worthwhile your time or effort. Fallout 3 is also one of the first instances of a game where I really realized how bad the follow the compass type of progression really feels like. like, it's not as bad as in other games of that type, but so much is taken out of your hand and your control and your agency. It's totally irrelevant how you navigate, since the compass just points you to your next location, to the point where some quests would become legitimately impossible to solve without the compass being present, without that guidance. I remember when Bethesda was capable of letting the player figure out the navigation of the game on their own terms. Navigating the game world through descriptions and directions that was enough to guide you to your goal. I remember that, but I guess we can't be trusted with such responsibility anymore, because we're all idiots. Also, let's be honest here, you're not even the main character in this game. It's either Liam Neeson until he dies, or it's Leon or whatever other character bosses you around until the end of the game. You just stand there witnessing and doing the dirty work, but you're not actually the one leading or guiding the story. That is for the real protagonists of Fallout 3, which is not you. Speech in Fallout 3 also is entirely based on your level of skill, and the speech options that were usually woven into conversations as options that you had to navigate through, and they were not clearly represented, are now just shown to you as the single speech option with a percentage chance to succeed. This not only boils speech down to click that one option that is obviously the one using speech, but it also heavily encourages save scumming, especially if you have low skill stats but you still want the speech success. We all did that, by the way. Don't lie, you save scummed the speech checks. You did. By the way, killing Mr. Berg randomly when you walk into the bar in Megaton gives you good karma for some reason, since the game always tags him as a bad guy. Same with any other NPCs that is just considered a bad dude. You just get good karma for mowing these guys down, no matter what situation. You don't even have to figure out if Berg's a bad guy. You can just shoot him on sight, and that's a good thing. And by the way, when I'm talking about other bad guys, I'm not talking about the obvious slave traders in the game. But for some reason, shooting Berg on sight, that's a non-issue, something the game rewards you for doing. However, all of a sudden when it's time for General Autumn to be confronted, you're supposed to consider if violence is really the right choice here. Why? Isn't he labeled a bad guy by the devs? Does just being a good karma dispenser? Also, what kind of moral question is that supposed to be? When, at any point, did Autumn ever display anything other than villainous traits? I also like that one of the early concept drawings of General Autumn is just him looking like a generic World War II bad guy. Ah yes, Western studios and the need to make military bad guys into Yahtzees until the end of all time. It's so refreshing and interesting to see the bad guys once again being an analogy to the Yahtzees. Crazy good storytelling and visual design right there. I mean, he didn't turn out to be that way in the end, but that early concept drawing of him is just so stereotypical. That's crazy. It's crazy. Most evil karma choices are so unhinged, no normal self-respecting player would ever go for it on their first playthrough. I would actually like to see some statistics. That would be actually cool to know. How many players blew up Megaton on their first go and how many did it on their replay of the game. Most of the evil choices are literally just things you try on your second playthrough because, fuck, why not? Might as well try. Or maybe you're just a murder hobo. In that case, it makes sense why somebody would just choose to do all of the stupid, dumbass, evil karma choices on the first go through. The game's karma system is so black and white, it's actually insane how simple and shallow the entire system is. The super mutants, once an intricate, interesting and unique faction, are now just big green raiders. Actually, most of the enemies or hostile factions that are humans in Bethesda Fallout boil down to some sort of raider. Exceptions, of course, being the monster type entities, but those just mostly run and swipe at you. Besides two exceptions, all of the super mutants are just permanently angry, screaming hostile brutes that shoot anything they see on sight. What a great progression from their original incarnation. I wonder which model the remaster will use, by the way. Is it going to be the Fallout 3 version or the Fallout 4 version? You know what? Let's be honest here. It's gonna be some Unreal Engine modernized, bastardized version of the original model, probably. Probably something that's gonna look hideous. Fallout 3 changed the setting from a recovering post-apocalypse of progression and hope to a shitty Borderlands trash setting where nothing new is ever made and everyone lives in trash. Trash-built houses makes their armor from garbage and everyone needs to scour and scrounge for every bit of food. Look at Fallout 1 and 2, where humanity was making legitimate strides back and some real progress towards recovery. But that is just totally gone to shit in Bethesda's version of the franchise. It's just Mad Max wannabe Borderlands garbage with the same type of shitty humor, but it's got an Adam Punk aesthetic to it. Which, by the way, that's the only thing that's carrying the franchise nowadays, the visual aesthetics. Fallout 3 also started regurgitating lame and generic reference material from their own history of games, nonetheless, aka the gag is back. For some reason. We got Water Quest. The NPCs of the Brotherhood of Steel are trying to be some lame replacement for the old ones from the original Fallout, but these ones are the off-brand soulless TeamU version. Even if Fallout New Vegas never existed, Fallout 3 would have never been remembered, or should have never been remembered, as a good game. Even though some within the fandom try their absolute hardest to gaslight all of us into believing we actually really did enjoy this piece of shit game and we all have collective amnesia or something. Is Fallout 3 the least worst Fallout title? Yes, yeah, compared to Fallout 4 and 76, it's the least worst Fallout game, I guess. But what does that actually mean? That means nothing. The game is still below average trash. Bethesda unquestionably ruined the franchise, starting with Fallout 3, and they have continued to do so ever since they took over. Look, okay, we all fell for Fallout 3 at some point in time. Maybe once you were like 13 years old and you played the game and your brain wasn't capable of making higher value judgments, but then most of us grew up. Well, hopefully most of us grew up and we gained a different perspective, gaining and growing up, becoming a little bit more introspective and questioning your past choices. And during repeat playthroughs, we gained some more insight and took our rose-tinted glasses off. If you legitimately think Fallout 3 was like the shit, the best thing, like holy shit, I remember that so fondly, it's one of the best games, then maybe replay it again. Replay it today, without mods or anything, and try to reaffirm that judgment call. And maybe try not to be guided by your childhood memories. Those usually turn out to not be very reliable. And then again, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And I do understand that a lot of people might remember Fallout 3 fondly. It's the first big 3D Fallout game, made by Bethesda no less. I totally get it, but it's not really a healthy mindset, and it sure as hell does not encourage Bethesda to do better in the future. I mean, if they are even capable of self-reflection and bettering themselves in any way, shape or form. So that's it. Fallout 3 was never really good. Cool story, bro. Thank you, but what about the remaster? This is about a remaster, you've been yapping. Well, Fallout 3 might have been pretty bad, but as you know, there's always a way, a chance, an opportunity to make it much, much worse.
Help! Help! Help me! Help!
How about this? Picture the following. A slop Unreal Engine remaster, full price release, breaks all existing mods since it's an entirely new game, comes bundled with some Creator Club garbage and a shoehorned tie-in to the Fallout show included somewhere in the game because why not? Bonus points for paying off all the lore slop tubers beforehand to hype the game and tell us all about how great Fallout 3 always was. All of them had exclusive access to the playtest of the remaster, but stop noticing. Not enticing enough for you? Okay, well, you can already buy the super really fully functional Pip-Boy replica to keep you entertained until the remaster releases. That replica that totally might not have mold on it, perhaps by chance, and it's absolutely worth $300. Yeah, I literally cannot think about a more useful way to spend $300 to have some battery-powered piece of shit armband rot in my display case and gather dust. I mean, it's your money, you do you. Okay, it's not like Bethesda fans can be reasoned with anyway, and this shit is gonna sell like hotcakes, same with the remaster, but I'm not done yet. We got more to entice you. It's not just this. There's going to be a deluxe edition, yes, with 3 days early access, and some meaningless cosmetic items from the game. For some reason, maybe you get like a Ranger armor in Fallout 3. Why not? Why the fuck not? Plus, if you want even more useless fanboy crap to put in your display case, the collector's edition might have some working gag for you can use to freshen up your gamer girl bathwater or something. I also really want Fallout 3's aesthetic and art style to be glazed over by shitty, blurry, Vaseline smeared Unreal Engine 5 textures and shadows and effects. It's gonna look so great, as we know from the Oblivion remaster, of course. And also, let's not forget the shit filter and the weird looking water effects too. That can't be missing, I also hope they rework every piece of armor and weapon in the game. I hope they give this remaster to some studio that has no idea what the original version of the visuals were, and so they slop generic modern crap all over the design of the original armor and weapons, making everything look like weird shit. I hope they do the same to all fauna in this game. Can't wait for Unreal Engine 5 Deathclaw Claw, Unreal Engine 5 Raider, Unreal Engine 5 Crab People. I can't wait how they will butcher the visual design of the Centaur somehow. Yes, I also want the super uncanny Unreal Engine 5 models all over the game. That would be great. Let's make sure to not change any of the animation model rigging, by the way, so it looks like weird and like the old Fallout 3, since we all know jank is the only thing your players like about this franchise. And we actually, the studio gets actually praised in the reviews for the jank for some reason. Let's also make sure to not fix any old bugs and introduce new ones, because that's also going to be a positive aspect in the review, because after all, the only good thing about Bethesda is the fact that it's a buggy, shitty glitch fest, and that's funny, and that's somehow a positive thing in a review. I also hope we will get consistent and persistent Unreal Engine 5 stuttering in the game, with a heap of Unreal Engine 5 crashes that will maybe be fixed after the studio goes on a few weeks long holiday. In addition, I hope the work of modders will continue to go ignored by Bethesda, and not a single word will be uttered about Fallout London. And let's not get started about Starfield. The crazy bastards managed to fix Starfield somehow. Granted, it had to become Star Wars to be fun, but Bethesda can't acknowledge that their games have always relied on the modding community to fix and sustain them in the long run. And we sure as hell as Bethesda should never at all recommend or at any way, shape or form acknowledge Fallout London or Star Wars Starfield. That would make us look bad. And the weirdest thing is, these modders continue to do so, even though Bethesda absolutely hates them, and they would likely gleefully break their mods every single time they update this game. Isn't that funny? I hope the Fallout 3 remaster is also as shallow and soulless as the Oblivion remaster. That would be really cool. Making a game like Oblivion objectively worse in every way possible is an achievement, but I think Bethesda can do better this time. Fallout 3 just needs to be 10 times sloppier. Then the community is gonna really enjoy it. Let's not forget about including FrameGen and DLSS, and then making it borderline mandatory to run the game at an unstable 60 FPS. I hope literally nobody will notice the sheer artistic decline of the Oblivion remaster, and nobody will then notice we did the same thing to Fallout 3. If it's even possible to decline the artistic depiction of Fallout 3 even more, I'm sure Bethesda will find a way. I'm pretty sure. Let's also ignore and gaslight all of the critics who have succinctly pointed out all of the flaws of the Oblivion remaster, and let's just do the exact same thing that we did to Oblivion with Fallout 3. We'll then get massive sales and positive reviews by bootlickers regardless of what we are doing. Who cares about some screeching weirdos complaining? They don't know what real art is. Real art is slapping Unreal Engine 5 slop all over something like we were some sort of graffiti terrorist vandalizing a mural. That is real art. Unreal Engine 5 vandalism. That's how you really make art. This is modern Bethesda after all. Do you really think after Fallout 4, 76 and Starfield and the Oblivion remaster, this studio will deliver anything besides subpar trash that everyone still seemingly laps up, enjoys, likes, plays and encourages more of? It's literally just gonna be Fallout 3. The same shitty game, but with an Unreal Engine 5 coat of paint and of course a modern price tag attached. And naturally including some sort of reach around tickle your ass edition you can buy for like $200 or something, if you really want to blow up money up Todd's ass for some reason. There's also going to be a Fallout show tie-in. I 200% guarantee it. It's gonna be like a random gun or a hat you find somewhere in the game. Bethesda's not gonna let the opportunity slide to capitalize on the normies watching the show. I mean, after all, they got mid-trash to sell to their mid-wit audience. Can't let that go to waste. Let's ignore the numerous ex-Bethesda developers sounding the alarm about the sheer state of the Elder Scrolls 6 and the studio itself. Those guys are just envious little bastards because they didn't get to be the lead role for the new Bethesda slop game. They're just envious, ignore them. Honestly, do you expect this iteration of Bethesda to do anything with Fallout 3 other than somehow making it objectively worse than it was before? If you think Bethesda, current day Bethesda, is gonna do anything positive with Fallout 3's remaster, then I want whatever you're huffing, buddy. Wait, actually, no, I don't want what you're huffing, because that seems to be actively harmful to my intelligence. Just pray they never get to touch New Vegas, or we will never hear the end of the incoming tourists and normies jumping on the brand new and approved version of the old New Vegas. And after all, we all knew that New Vegas was outdated and lame anyway. God, that's gonna be an absolute disaster if that ever happens. The Fallout show already fucked up enough lore already. Let's hope Bethesda doesn't come for the actual game at some point. I'm so absolutely fucking sure they want to go after New Vegas. After all, they're still absolutely envious of how beloved New Vegas is, and they for sure would use any chance to fuck the game up in any way, shape or form they can if they ever got to make a New Vegas remaster. Pray that never happens. I'm also not even sure that they will even stick to the show being canon, by the way, because what's being shown in the TV show is supposed to be canon, you know, but we know how Bethesda writing is, you know. Let's see if in Fallout 5, if it should ever release, they somehow end up contradicting their own TV show. I mean, I can totally see that. I give Emil about a 75% chance to write some garbage that somehow goes against what the TV show set up. Unless Bethesda turns into Disney and we only get remasters for the next few years. Yeah, I can wait. I can't wait for the Morrowind remaster. Wow, great. Remasters, by the way, always come across as an easy way out or the coward's way out. Bethesda clearly is struggling with Test 6 and Fallout 5, especially since it's pretty clear that they don't have the talent or skill to make something that is going to top Skyrim anytime soon. That game really fucked them over, by the way. It's really telling how we're getting those leaks of more remasters to come. Either Bethesda's not courageous enough, or they're stuck in development hell, or whatever else is happening and going on at that studio. It's not looking good for them. But remasters are an easy money-making machine in the meantime. Since people just keep buying them, let's not forget about that sad and depressing fact. You know, remasters are just something that people have accepted nowadays, and for some reason that's a good thing. And let's not forget that Fallout 4 and 76 somehow are remembered positively by some parts in the community. That's not a joke, by the way. 76 has a positive rating on Steam, you know. If you didn't know that, that's a bit of a sobering fact, isn't it? I guess Bethesdoids literally will buy and praise anything, as long as it's at least a minimal viable product. And forgetting, memory holding, and reimagining the past is also very prominent and popular in this fandom. And also gaslighting critics and wrong thinkers. That's also very, very important to the Bethesda fans. And maybe also shitting on the New Vegas fans. In short, Bethesda fans get exactly what they deserve. And also clearly what they want. And you know what? I'm all here for it. Slop begets slop, and if they have slop taste, Todd Howard will feed them slop, like the pay piggies that Bethesda fans are. The fans are literally telling Bethesda to their face, content creators included, that glitchy, buggy, minimal viable, low effort garbage rehashes are exactly what they want. I mean, the unpaid and hated modders are gonna fix it anyway, so who cares, you know? Who really cares? So well, at this point I've just given up on Bethesda. Honestly, since the days of the Fallout 4 release, I've given up on this studio. I expect nothing from them, and every time they somehow surprise me by under-delivering. I guess in a few years, mindless consumer fanboys is all that's gonna be left in the Bethesda fandom. I mean, at least the soulless slop developers will finally be in good company. No more complaints, no more critiques, just money flowing in. If you ever wake up though and realize you don't actually like where Bethesda is going, just remember, you voted for this, you paid for it, and then you suppressed any criticism that might have turned the sinking ship around. Just remember that one. Have a good day and see you next time.